Hey everyone, I'm Megyn Kelly. Welcome to this Megyn Kelly show and our special first person episode. The fight to protect women's sports is underway, and right now the focus is on college women's volleyball. Teams in the Mountain West Conference have recently forfeited games against San Jose State University after it was revealed that one of the top players on their team is a male pretending to be a woman. His name is Blair Fleming, and he continues to play, putting these women, including those on his own team, at risk. And now one of his teammates is bravely speaking out. Brooke Slusser is a setter on the San Jose State University team. She recently joined a class action lawsuit against the NCAA and is going public with efforts by her university to cover up the fact that Fleming is a male. Brooke Slusser joins me now. Brooke, so good to meet you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're a courageous young woman because you're still on this team, and I know the blowback has been severe. So first, just tell us what made you speak out. What was it?
I think it just, at the end of the day, has so much more to do with right now. And this honestly probably won't affect Blair and playing on my team at this time, but it has to do with the generations of girls coming through wanting to play Division I sports and making that change for them so they don't ever have to go through this. And I think that's the biggest push factor of why I felt so inspired to want to join this lawsuit.
You are so spot on, and you really are brave. I didn't expect to play this ad this high up in our interview, but I'm going to. Our friend Jennifer Say has this XXXY Athletics brand. She used to help run Levi's, and she got basically forced out of there because she didn't want COVID lockdowns and schools not letting kids in. So now she's opened up this brand that is meant to support women like you who are just trying to play sports on a fair, equal playing field. And she dropped this ad, which is a Dear Nike ad. The point of the ad, which I'm going to play, is that Nike is not standing up for women. The NCAA is not standing up for women. Your school is not standing up for women. And amazingly, it takes somebody like you, Brooke. It takes an actual woman who's affected by their cowardice to make change. Here's the Nike ad.
Dear Nike.
Dear Nike.
Dear Nike.
Why won't you stand up for me? Why won't you stand up for me? Why won't you?
Why do you claim to support women and girls?
Yet when we need you most,
you remain silent.
Today, males are claiming our identity,
our sports,
our spaces.
Men and boys are stealing opportunities, medals,
trophies,
and our future.
And it's not fair or just.
In fact, it's often dangerous. Yet you refuse to use your platform to stand up.
You say you're for social justice and progress.
So why do you allow men's rights to come before ours?
See, with a big platform
comes an even bigger responsibility.
You have a chance to do the right thing,
not just do the easy thing.
So we're asking you, Nike.
So we're asking you, Nike.
So we're asking you, Nike.
As the biggest voice in all of sports.
Will you stand up for me? Will you stand up for me? Will you stand up for me?
Will you stand up for me? Will you?
Will you?
Will you just do it?
Hashtag Save Women's Sports, XXXY Athletics. Amazing, very moving. And so far, the answer from Nike has been no, in the form of silence. But Brooke, you're doing it. And you're doing it while you have skin in the game. You're on this team with this male, pretending to be female. Everyone is against you. So walk us through how this first happened to you, because I understand you transferred into San Jose.
Yes. Yeah, so I went into the transfer portal going into my junior year, and I just wanted to go somewhere where I could find love for the game again, just be happy doing what I've always wanted to do. And got recruited by San Jose State, and it was never brought to my knowledge that there was a male on the team. Obviously, there would have been no way that I would have came here if I had known that. And so they recruited me. Everything seemed great. And I also got recruited in the summer, so I only got to meet two of the girls on the team at the time that just happened to be on campus while I was taking my visit. So I didn't really know anyone on the team until I got here. And then they also, being a transfer athlete, recommended that one of our group of girls that are on the team had an open room and that I move in with them because it would be good to help me bond and get to know some of the girls on the team. And I was like, that sounds amazing. Like, I would love to do that. So I move in and it's with 3 of my teammates, and come to find out one of those teammates is Blair, who I did not know was a male. So I'm not only on the team with a man, but also was unknowingly living with one.
Wow. No one told you that Blair was a biological man, was a male, before you moved in?
No.
So how did you find out?
So I was here for about 2.5 months and nothing was said. And then I went to a food truck with one of my teammates and 2 of the men's basketball players at San Jose State. And I kind of overheard them talking while we were waiting for our food, talking about Blair being a man. And I kind of turned around and I was like, what are y'all talking about? And they're like, you don't know? And I was like, what are you talking about? And that's when everything kind of unfolded for me. And they told me what they knew, but still it was nowhere out in the open. No one talked about it. It was all just whispers behind closed doors. It was never addressed. So I went through a whole stage of like denial. Because I mean, just with the way I was raised, I'm not second guessing if someone is the gender that they're telling me they are. So, and I've never had to deal with this before. So it was just a whole like mind game of trying to figure out how to deal with this on your own. Again, this was not talked about by anyone. So when I found this out, it's not like I went to practice and was able to talk about it with my coaches and have someone to go to about this. It was just a situation in the back of my head where our teammates who were figuring it out slowly were able to talk about it with each other, but there was nothing we could do about it.
Is Blair, we showed the picture there, is Blair like tall, physically imposing? Describe Blair.
Blair's about 6'1".
Oh, wow.
Definitely
Okay.
the most muscular person on our team by far. So, I mean.
Do we know whether Blair went through male puberty?
I could not tell you. I'm not sure.
We don't know when Blair, quote, transitioned or attempted to start looking like a woman?
I couldn't give you an exact age. I just know it was young. And I want to say around 13, 12 years old. But again, I haven't sat down with Blair and asked these questions.
Yeah. It doesn't look like Blair's willing to have this conversation. So we don't know whether Blair's been through male puberty. Certainly the height would suggest maybe, though there can be tall girls, especially in volleyball too. Not that Blair's a girl. He's not. He's a man. So you find this out, and now you're living with Blair. And is it true, too, that you had actually shared a room with Blair from time to time, like on the road, was it, for games?
Yes. Yeah, so when we have travel trips, there's 2 girls to a room usually, and your coaches just give you anyone on the team, and they usually switch it up with people that they know you're not as close with so that you can get to know different people on the team. And I was like, this is great. I'm a transfer player. Like, I'll get the opportunity to get to know some new people on the team that I haven't really gotten to know yet. And then I noticed as time went on that I just kept getting roomed with Blair, which I found very odd because everyone else on the team was getting switched around. Again, I'm a new person on the team. I wasn't going to sit and ask questions or cause trouble just because I do what I'm told, and that's just, it is what it is. At the time, I had no reason to question what anyone was doing and who I was rooming with. And then come to find out later, they asked Blair who he was comfortable rooming with on away trips. And apparently there was a selected few of us that were on that list, and I was one of them.
Wow. Without any disclosure whatsoever. So did you get along with Blair? What kind of a person is Blair?
That's what the hardest part was, is because I did get along with Blair before finding all of this out. I mean, living with a person, you're around them a lot. And so Blair was a friend to me. And so after all of this coming out, like, it was, again, just I'm in such denial because he's someone you think is a friend, and then come to find out their life is a lie to you, is how I perceived it. So I think that's why it's so hard for so many people to deal with this in our situation right now.
Did you notice a difference on the court in Blair's play versus the other girls?
Oh, 100%. I mean, anyone, you don't have to know volleyball at all. You could come and sit and watch one of our games. And it's so obvious that there's so much more power and strength behind that swing. I mean, you go watch a male game and a women's game, there's a complete difference. There's a reason that they're separate. So if you come and watch our games, it's the same thing. Like, there is a massive difference. There is a massive
How so?
difference.
Explain for the
if you just watch
non-volleyball observer here. What are we seeing? Why is that extraordinary with Blair spiking the ball?
you just can see how high Blair is jumping. I mean, he's swinging over the block against anyone that we're playing. And then it's not just a hard swing. It's a hard swing straight down. Like, that is undiggable. And for people who don't know volleyball reference, digging is just playing defense against a hitter. Like, these swings are just, you're unable to stop it. And so it's just an insane difference, and not just the power, but the ability to even keep the ball up.
Right. Just last night, Blair played in a game and spiked a girl in the face. Here it is. Watch.
They'll have to continue to look forward as they trail by 10 points here. Fleming!
Right there. Hits her in the face, and the announcer would go on to comment on how the girl's face was turning pink from the hit. That's not the first time that Blair's
Fleming
extraordinary
with a
abilities.
Massive blow from the back row and a good job getting it back up. Kira Heron has some pink in her ear, and her face is starting to look like she's matching that, as obviously took the contact, but also got to feel a little embarrassed as she's trying to laugh off that last ball.
Aw, right. I think he nailed it. She's embarrassed, and she's trying to laugh it off. And it wasn't the first time that even the announcers noticed a difference in Blair and the way Blair plays. Here's another example in SOP 50.
Her vertical is, in this match, unmatched. Blair Fleming, ladies and gentlemen, might be the most impressive athlete on the floor tonight.
Not any of the women, the man posing as one. So that seems to be just a couple of examples of them seeing what you say you experienced firsthand.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So did you feel safe in playing like with Blair on your team? Like, I assume you kind of scrimmage, I don't know what the word is, against one another in practice and so on. Did you feel like you were safe?
Oh, no. I mean, I think it's noticeable now for anyone that can go and, like, our team has access to film that you can go watch for practice. And you can just see girls the entire practice having to dodge out of the way of a swing. So, like, just in that video that you showed, we're not getting slammed in the face. And I don't feel safe. I've gone to my coaches and I've said I refuse to play against Blair if there isn't at least a block up, which, if we're being honest, doesn't really make a difference for anyone. But
what does that mean?
Yeah, I mean,
what do you
girls, if there's no block up, then Blair's just going with no one up at the net, just openly swinging.
Oh.
So at
You're
least
saying so a way of minimizing the danger would be to put girls along the net on your team on defense against Blair?
Yes. And there's times in practice, even if there is a block up, people are still getting hit in the head. People are still dodging Blair's swings. It's not safe. And it's talked about all the time. We don't feel safe playing defense against Blair. Because again, the power is just unmatchable for any woman. It doesn't matter how good or bad anyone wants to say that Blair's play is comparatively to some of the top players in the NCAA. They're amazing players, but again, the power behind this swing is just so different. And if you're not completely prepared for it, you will get blown up. And that's the scariest part, because that could end your career.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm sure you guys are aware of Peyton McNabb in North Carolina, a young volleyball player who did play against a male who was posing as female and suffered permanent nerve damage and brain damage. And she's been outspoken about it since, but she's only 16 years old, and they allowed this to happen to her. So there is real risk. There's genuine danger to you. Like, what did your parents say? What did your family say when they realized the school had placed you in this position?
My parents were enraged. I mean, you can only imagine.
Yeah.
It's like you're sending your child off, putting them in the hands and trust of these coaches to basically take care of you and be able to relay like life decisions and everything through them. And then come to find out that they said all these things like, bring Brooke here, we'll care for her, we'll love for her, and lie about a man being on the team and allowing me to move in with a man on the team.
Oh.
After knowing everything that I'd been through personally with my past in volleyball. So they could not have been angrier about the whole situation. I mean, rightfully so.
I feel for them entirely and would have shared the outrage. So you now are faced with this information, and most people, even Riley Gaines, who I know we both love, in the moment did not say anything, because everything's on the line. You work so hard. She was at the NCAA championships and they were screwing her over. So in the moment, I think an athlete's instinct is, I'm tough. I am trained to suck it up. I play through pain. I play through a lot. That's how you become a champion. So how are you able to get around that great mentality and seek a higher goal, which really is what you're doing, to say, this is morally wrong?
Mm-hmm. I mean, so we've had so many meetings about all of this with the media people from our school, with admin, compliance, everyone. And from the beginning, when we had that first meeting, it was when the first article came out about Blair being trans and basically saying, don't tell Blair's story. If people ask about it, it's not your story to tell. No comment. Like, it's probably best if you don't make a comment. And with that being the first meeting, no one really made comments about it. We all just kind of left. And it was just this feeling of like, what about us? Like, there's 18, 19 other women on this team that are having to deal with this and the backlash, and then also having to mentally go through the fact of finding out that this is a man we're playing with, and that it's connecting all the puzzle pieces of why Blair played so differently. And I think over time, I just got so fed up with this like heavy feeling of they don't care about us. And they're not doing anything to protect us. They only care about protecting Blair, which I don't understand. No one else understood. But it was like, there's so many things that everyone else is going through, having to deal with this, but yet don't make a comment. Your feelings don't matter. Don't tell Blair's story. It's not your story to tell. And I think I just got so fed up with that because everything in my body was like, this is so wrong. And nothing about this is right. It's not fair. It shouldn't be happening. And so when I got the opportunity and got reached out to by Icons to join the lawsuit, I sat in it for a minute and I was like, I never want anyone else to have to go through what my team is having to go through right now. I mean, these girls grow up, again, just wanting to play D1 volleyball. It's your dream. And now we're to the point where we're barely talking about volleyball and we're only talking about how to deal with the outside noise of all of this and how to handle it and how to deal with it. But we don't have anyone in the school really telling us how to do those things, just telling us to be quiet and be happy and nothing's going to change. And so I think at the end of the day, I just got so fed up. I was like, I want to be able to make this change for other people coming into collegiate sports.
I am so sorry that this happened to you. This is so wrong. I know some young volleyball players who have given everything. They're on that court all the time. And I know what it takes to get Division I volleyball. Like, that's a dream. That's a dream. You have to work so hard for that. And then to have this thrown at you, you must endanger yourself. You must suscept yourself to possible brain damage, nerve damage, physical harm in the name of equity or some other unstated goal. It's deeply immoral. It's unsafe. All I can think of right now, and by the way, for those just tuning in, we're talking to Brooke Slusser. She is the co-captain of the San Jose State women's volleyball team right now. And she is speaking out about what this school is doing to her and the other girls and the girls in the league by refusing to pull a male player who is pretending to be female and instead forcing them all to play against him. All I can think of is Megan Rapinoe, one of the most well-known names in women's sports, who said, and I quote, "Show me all the trans people who are nefariously taking advantage of being trans in sports. It's just not happening." What would you like her to know?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's just not right. Like, again, male and female, there is a reason there's men's sports and women's sports. That didn't start just for nothing. So there's, at the end of the day, if this is going to keep going the way it's going, why wouldn't coaches just recruit a full team of men if they're allowed to be in women's sports? I mean, you would obviously win everything.
It's a no-brainer. Exactly. As long as they're willing to put on a skirt and say they're not male, they're in. And I mean, there's money attached to it. There's bragging rights attached to it. Universities pay millions of dollars to get the right recruits and make sure that the university is built up to have winning sports teams. It helps with donations, with alumni. There's a lot of money riding on it. Why not? This is great. Once you got the camel's nose under the tent, just go for the whole camel. Why have the women at all? They're so annoying and such losers, really. I mean, men make the best women. We've seen that time and time again. That's really where this argument takes us. So you decide, you mentioned the lawsuit. This is the Riley didn't take long before she found that voice. And she's been so fierce on this whole issue. And she's been a leader in, among other things, bringing this lawsuit saying, you violated my Title IX rights, NCAA, and should never have put me or others in the position that they are putting you, Brooke, in right now. Unsafe, unfair, and unlawful. And so Icons, which is a group that helps women in this position, and well worth your time and your money if you want to donate, folks, is now, they reach out to you, they get you involved. You say, yes, I'll join the lawsuit. Very, very brave. You've got current standing. No court could say you don't. This is an active issue for you right now. And what kind of reaction do you get from your teammates and your coaches?
I think my coaches were very caught off guard when I first told them. I think they said a lot of things that all I asked of them, I said, I just ask that you respect me and my decision as much as you're respecting and deciding to support Blair in his decision to be here. And I said, you don't have to think of me the same off the court, but on the court, I just want the same respect. And just from how everything had been going, I knew that my coach wasn't going to be happy about me joining, most likely. But again, I kind of just left it at, I just want the respect on the court. I don't want anything to change on the court. And he was like, of course, like, I'm not going to change the way I treat you as a coach. To this day, I don't know if that's still happening. But from my team, I've had so much love. I mean, we have such an amazing group of women on our team. And that is the only reason I'm still able to be here, is for them.
Oh, thank God.
Because they come in every day and they work their butts off. And it's such a selfless act. I mean, I tell them day in and day out, I mean, there's only so much you can ask of these young women to come in and work hard going through what they're going through. I mean, I said it last night to them. There is no one else that can say in the nation in NCAA sports that they're going through what we're going through right now. And it's like, there's only so much mental strength that a woman can have every day to come in and suck it up and just put a smile on your face. So if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to keep going the way I'm going every day, going to the gym.
This is such bullshit. This is so wrong. This is so wrong. It's just like, we talk about it all the time on this show and the audience knows, but it's to hear a first person account of what it's like. And you're raising such good points. These girls are going through it right now. Are they also suffering?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I'm just right now as hard because I think it's so hard to talk about because, again, you don't know who you can trust talking about these things with. And so it's just me making sure that I can still reach out to my teammates, especially those young girls. Imagine being an 18-year-old in college, trying to figure out the new lifestyle of being away from your family and getting homesick, and then introducing collegiate sports in that scenario, and then college classes, and then adding this to that. So I'm just making sure that I'm reaching out, being like, please come talk to me if you need help. Like, let's go get coffee. Let's go get out of town and go do something. And it would be insane the amount that everyone is just like, I just need to get out and just have a mental break. And it's just so sad to see these young girls have to experience their freshman year of college, sophomore year of college, having to go through this, or first year at this school and wanting to transfer and find somewhere happy, and then have to go through this. Right. So it's like me just trying to be strong for them. Exactly.
So you must have had an interaction with Blair after you joined the lawsuit. How did that go?
I mean, I sat down with him and I just thought it was the respectful thing to do, still being a teammate. And I said, this is what I'm doing. I'm joining this lawsuit.
Good for you.
I feel like in every bone in my body, this is the right thing to do. I prayed about it. I've thought about it. It wasn't something I just thought about overnight. And again, like what I kind of said to my coaches, I don't think you need, if this makes you mad, that's fine. But on the court, I still deserve your respect, and I don't expect anything to change on the court, and vice versa. And I said, this isn't about us. This is about our team and not having a terrible season, because we need to do this for the team and be selfless, just in the way the team has been selfless for you. And then after that conversation,
mature young woman. Keep going. Yeah. What did he say?
After that, basically he said, I just need to think, this is a lot. And this is before any article came out. And so after that, left, and really haven't talked to him since, unless we're in the gym for volleyball.
And then you just keep it about the sport, or how do you manage that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we really don't speak unless it's about a set or a play or something to do with what's going on in practice or a game.
But meanwhile, other schools are rising up and refusing to play your team, which is also an act of courage and moral certitude. I mean, you've had, I think, 4 teams now say we would rather forfeit than play a team with a male on it. Is that the case?
That's 100% true. And I mean, I commend them. I think it's so sad, because you read things and see things and it's like, yes, we're losing the chance to play in a game. But it's like, it's so much more than that. It's women finally feeling the courage to take a stand and say, you know what, I don't agree with this. I'm done. I'm not playing against them. And I think that's what's so amazing about the whole thing, is people are finally getting the courage to stand up and say, no, this isn't right. No matter what their school is telling them, no matter what the uppers are telling them, they're saying, no, this isn't okay. And I think that's just an amazing thing in itself. Like, yes, we're losing the opportunity to play, but for such a good reason. I mean, so many people I've heard say it, I've said it. If I was on their team, I'd do the same exact thing. I commend them for this.
Yeah. But it's heroic. It's downright heroic in today's day and age, because no one's been doing it. You know, we've had a couple of examples here. We had the shot putters. We've had a couple of runners and a couple of bikers. But for the most part, I'd say over 90% of women placed in this terrible position suck it up. Not because they're bad, but because they're tough. They're athletes. They want to play. They've been taught, and the whole culture of sports is suck it up. You know, you can handle anything. But there's this other principle of morality, safety, fairness, and this issue forces you to prioritize one over the other. It forces you. And sometimes you get to those impossible decisions in life, and you must figure out the priorities in your moral compass. I have been there in other ways. So I appreciate the difficulty of this. And no young woman should be placed in this position. As you say, there are a lot of other things to be worrying about at this point.
Yeah. And I mean, if you really, like, I don't think people understand how courageous it is that these women are finally taking a stand and saying no. They have worked their lives for these D1 scholarships, playing collegiate sports. So there's so much on the line that potentially could happen for people deciding to take a stand and speak out. And yet 4 teams have decided not to play against us. And I just think that is so courageous of that entire team, because honestly, going through that whole process of not playing against us, they probably had no idea what could happen or what could come of that. And yet they still did it. And I think that's what's amazing, because again, that's why not a lot of people are speaking out. So many people are told, just do your work, put your head down, work hard, do what you're told. And I think that's why
and also
so
that there will
amazing,
be backlash.
it's a scary thing. Yeah, exactly.
Right. The other fear is not just suck it up, because that's what we do, but also if you speak out, you will be targeted. You will be called a bigot, a transphobe. Employers won't want you. I mean, that's what, like Paula Scanlon, who was on the UPenn team with Leah Thomas, that's what they were threatened with. They were told by UPenn, get therapy. If you have an objection to it, you need therapy. And you're not going to be hireable by others. These were the allegations, at least, that the university tried to guilt them, and that they just naturally had a fear, given the climate we're in, that they would be rendered unhireable. So how have you and other girls you've talked to in this reconciled that threat, that possibility?
I mean, I know it helped me a lot to be able to talk with everyone that's in the lawsuit and icons and all of the people involved in that, because they're the ones that really gave me the courage that I needed. Because again, I was just like everyone else. I was like, okay, well, I only have 3 months of volleyball in my life left. Am I going to lose my scholarship? I don't come from a family that's just going to easily be like, okay, we'll just pay for your school. It's fine. That was my biggest fear, is just losing my scholarship. And once I feel like they bring to light, they can't do anything to you for speaking your story and what you're going through. And it's going against everything that our entire team and everyone else that is getting gaslit and pushed into thinking, you can't speak, you can't stand up and say these things. That's wrong. That's not your thing to talk about. And once you finally sit down with some rationalized people that actually know what they're talking about, and they tell you that's all lie there, that's all gaslighting. They just want to be able to control you and tell you what to say. And that's at the end of the day where I was like, okay, I'm done. Like, they're not going to be able to gaslight me anymore. I want to be able to be a person that can have this knowledge to spread to my team and be like, you can speak, you can do these things, and they're lying to you. And so I think that's what gave me the courage, is just actually having the knowledge of what can and can't happen for speaking out and trying to stop this. Because genuinely, they really can't do anything to you. And I mean, I'm a great example of that. Legally. I've been speaking out. I've been trying to make this come to light for people, and they have done nothing. And it goes against everything that they were saying beforehand.
You were elected as co-captain?
Yes.
All right. So the girls on your team elected you to lead, and that's exactly what you're doing. They saw something in you that told them you could be that person, that you had that strength inside of you, and now you're using it to change the lives, not just of these women, but of so many other women behind you, of my daughter, who's only 13, of my listeners' daughters, of the young women who listen to this program. That's exactly what you're doing. You're captain for us all in a way at the moment. But it's come, I know, with some serious downsides. I understand there was a game recently at which there was a heavy police presence and security presence, and it was not to protect Blair. It was because you were getting serious death threats, and there was a threat that if you played the game, you might not live to see the end of it. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so obviously there's been so much love for me joining this lawsuit, but like you said, there's that group of people that just want to hate on it and they want you to stop. And the night before that game, I'd gotten a pretty serious threat to me physically. And so they added so much security. They added bag checks, metal detectors, which for a volleyball game at this level, usually not in postseason, it's not a rivalry game. It wasn't supposed to be anything crazy. There's a few security guards like normal here and there, but they packed in the security guards just for that night because I was starting to get these death threats and threats against me, physically harming me, and not just the hate of a person behind a commuter. So I think for me, that was the first time it really sunk in that like I didn't feel safe. And I think that's what's really scary. And that was the first time that something like that had happened. And I don't know, it just felt like I had like the first time reading the message, I just kind of had chills through my body. I was like, this doesn't feel okay. And especially being on a volleyball court, you're so out in the open. I'm like, yes, you can add security to around the court, but when you're on that court, you really are very vulnerable. And I also have 5 other girls on the court with me and our whole bench that are out open and vulnerable. So I think that was really scary for me, is just knowing that like something that I decided to join could potentially hurt my teammates or me trying to just play the game that we love.
This is so crazy. This is absolute madness that they're allowing this. Is there any hope that the university will do the right thing, notwithstanding the lawsuit?
I mean, if I'm being completely transparent, I don't trust what they're doing here. I think from what I've heard, they fully support Blair being here. And this whole time, we've seen it. I mean, it goes to show Blair is still here. And if they wanted to do something about it, they easily could have a long time ago. And the fact that they brought a man here and it was hidden, it wasn't told to anyone. Obviously, they knew they were doing something wrong and yet still decided to bring Blair here and support having a man on this team. So at this rate, I don't see them doing anything to make a change for that. Because again, all they care about is taking care of Blair and what Blair needs. And yes, they ask us, how can we help you? Are you okay? But the only right answer to that question is, I would be perfectly fine if we weren't playing with a man. I would feel safe if we weren't playing with a man. There's nothing wrong with me being sad, anxious, stressed about having to deal with this situation. And they keep asking us how they can fix this. But if anyone stands up and says, oh, just kick Blair off the team, they immediately say that's not happening. Mm-hmm. So no, I don't think there's going to be any change from the school anytime soon or ever with this whole situation.
They must be forced to comply with Title IX and its protection of women as it was. I mean, right now it's been challenged. The changes that Joe Biden's tried to push through have been paused because of all the lawsuits by so many states saying this is unconstitutional. You can't do this. I mean, you're aware of how he's trying to redefine womanhood and allow men into women's sports with the stroke of his pen, I assume, since you've got a Title IX lawsuit that you've joined. Do you have thoughts about presidential politics and what you want to see?
I mean, I don't genuinely think this whole situation has anything to do with politics. I think it has the whole thing to do with men just should not be in women's sports. It should be completely separate. And it has nothing to do with who's president and who's going to get elected.
Well, it does a little, because you've got Kamala Harris saying trans rights are human rights, period.
See, I think things could move along a lot faster if a specific someone was elected. But it's just so crazy to me that people can sit there and obviously see the difference and still support it. That's that's just something that I can't understand. Because it's all these people that are trying to say facts about this to support it that just have no background information and facts and science to actually back it up.
Or they do, and they just want to signal that they have virtue and they're a good person, unlike people who challenge it, who just don't understand how hard it is on the trans athlete without giving any consideration to what it's doing to the actual girls around him. Can I just ask you, Brooke, where are you from? Like, how did you get to be so strong? You must come from a pretty strong, cool family.
I'm from Dallas, North Dallas, Texas. Yeah. Born and raised. So, and I will be
where
going right
where do you
back
fall in the
there.
birth order?
I'm the youngest of two. So I have an older sister. Yeah.
Good. Okay. Well, your parents have done a lot right. That's obvious. And hats off to you and the whole family. I'm totally rooting for you. I pray and hope that you win this case for so many reasons. And I really admire your courage. Good luck out there.
Thank you.
Stay well. Wow. Great job, Brooke. Thank you. Wow. Wow, what an extraordinary young woman. That's so gutsy. Please remember her story when you hear these stories in the news, that there are real people, there are real young women who get affected by this stuff. It's not just outraged anchors like me going off about the stuff on a podcast. This is wrong, what we're doing. It's wrong. It's truly evil. And it has to stop. Thank you guys for listening. See you tomorrow.